What do you cherish in your life? Is it your family, your friends, your beliefs? Maybe all of those and more. On this NSP short, Calvin Chrustie explains the importance of understanding what people value to be an effective negotiator.
I found it much easier negotiating, dialoguing, and resolving problems with the Indigenous people. I found it much easier, much more difficult dealing with the Canadian government. And it was really just that lack of, I think, humility, empathy, and a cultural lens, that didn't allow to go, hey, there's two sides to this story. And I'm definitely, I am that Popeye Doyle guy from Gene Hackman, French Connection. But so when I saw this, I'm not like the nicest, warmest person always, and that, but that was my lens on it. I was kind of going, okay, this isn't the problem. This isn't the problem I expected. This is going to be easy to solve this part of the problem. That part of the problem is going to be tougher. And that was dealing with senior bureaucrats that, just knew better. Or some of them, in fairness, half of them had the ego. The other half, in fairness to that, now I'm reflecting on it, were like, they just didn't see it that way. Like, it was a whole different cultural lens. For example, we were dealing with it's a famous case because there's books about it. There was movies written about it. And I was the lead negotiator on it. And it was a case of a killer whale on the west coast of Canada. And this baby killer whale was interacting in this marina and bumping, the fishing boats, knocking off the different, whatever it is, depth finders underneath the boats and creating havoc. And then, people were out fishing on, like a 20 or 25 foot, recreational boat. And the killer whale would come up on the side of the boat and they would be petting it and feeding it beer and interacting with it almost like a humanistic, it was almost like a human. And the Department of Fisheries was extremely concerned in terms of the safety issues. Something was going to happen with the whale. But the Indigenous community there had just lost their chief. And in their culture was the chief often comes back as a killer whale. And so this killer whale was seen as a spirit of the chief. To the Department of Fisheries, it was seen as a animal that was a nuisance.
A nuisance, right.
And the approach was, let's treat it as a nuisance. And they were looking at hog tying it, literally, pulling it up, and that, and putting it in the Vancouver Aquarium. And I'm dealing with the Indigenous people, and they're going, that's our chief. And so you're sitting down in the community, but, downtown Ottawa, they're having these conversations in their boardrooms about this nuisance and the risk and the liability, and they're going to be criticized if they don't do this and this. Well-intended, but they don't understand that's cheap. So they're looking at like injecting it with like whatever, putting it up on a truck, shipping it, to Vancouver or whatever, possibility that it's going to die in the process because it's a high-risk type capture type thing. And I just remember going into the number 2 person in charge of the Department of Fisheries in the Pacific region. And he says, well, I don't get it. I don't understand why they're looking at protesting and doing these blockades and that. I said to him, I can't remember his name. I'll use the name Jim. I said, Jim, can you imagine if you were going to church? I said, you went to church as a kid? Yeah. I said, well, what would somebody's reaction be if somebody walked up to the altar and just excremented right on the church altar? I said, like, totally disrespected your cult, like your religious beliefs, your spirituality, and just did that, knowing that you were told like how spiritual it was. I said, that's basically what the Department of Fisheries is doing to this indigenous group. This is the most sacred person they have in their community is this whale. It doesn't matter what you see it as. That's what they see it as. And that's why you're getting into it. So it was really, it was really interesting to see that. And to his credit, he went, yeah. Like it was a game changer for him culturally, for his career. Yeah.